appreciate everybody making the time to be here. And looking forward to showing you the power of the Blue Onion app and specifically how that connects to NetSuite and fixes a lot of problems that we've seen with our customers over the last several years that are kind of specific to NetSuite or larger ERP implementations that people put in place where they have transaction level order flow going through their ERP system. So looking forward to diving into that. Want to spend a little bit of time here at the beginning kind of talking about Blue Onion, but also defining the problems that we're trying to solve in this exact integration. So Blue Onion exists. We were founded about 3 years ago by Lindsay Bunting, Monica Malhotra, and Charlie McMillan. And we were founded basically to create unified financial data for accounting teams, finance teams, and then also layer on an opinion of what is proper accounting for all of these systems. And how do we help facilitate things like replacing the time spent by accounting teams to populate journal entries, but also to do bank reconciliation and give accounting and finance teams confidence in what they're reporting to their senior leadership or even externally in their audited financials. And so where that relates to NetSuite is most of the people we've encountered that are on NetSuite have all of these orders flowing in. And so once you're moving on to NetSuite and you've made that investment at that large of an ERP, you are sending potentially hundreds of thousands of orders every single month into that system from all of your customers, from Shopify, from Amazon, from whatever source it may be coming. And then you have batch deposits that happen in your bank account that need to be reconciled. And so you have this gap of information that there are a lot of great companies that make data connectors that move those orders from Shopify to NetSuite. But where we're trying to fill a gap here is on the back end of that. You have a bunch of gross orders that are being dropped into NetSuite and fulfilled. And then you have batch deposits in your bank that are net of fees, and we want to fill that gap and identify exactly what you're getting paid out on, what fees you're paying along the way, and making sure that you have complete traceability around the cash that you're receiving and the orders that have or have not been paid on. So I'm going to jump straight into the app here. Feel free to drop questions into the Q&A or comment in the chat if you have things that come up along the way. So I'm just going to spend a little bit of time for those that may not be familiar with our application and what we've been doing before the NetSuite integration, just sort of level setting and talking about the source of the data that we have in our app, as well as why we believe so strongly in our data quality. And we'll kind of talk through that. So this is an overview page here that you'll come into every single time you log into the app. On the left-hand side here, these are your total sales by order date. So as everything's coming through Shopify or through Amazon, those are going to be your total sales by the order date. You can see here we're looking at a month period. On the right-hand side, this is some of that opinion we were talking about as far as accountants like to see data and really conforming to ASC 606 for the accounting nerds out there. But really conforming to the US standards and generally the international standards of accounting for revenue recognition. So you can't recognize your revenue until it's been shipped out and you've fulfilled your obligation of sending merchandise to your customer. And so that's what you're seeing on the right-hand side is all of the items that were shipped out in the same period from either Shopify, Amazon, wherever the source may be, and reporting to you your total revenue for that same period. Working down here, we're also going to show you how well we're doing at our job. How well have we been able to reconcile something? Have we seen an order come from your order management system? Have we seen a record from your payment gateway that connects to that? And have we identified the exact payout in your bank account that that order was included in? And so just generally want to talk about connections really quick. We have several different Amazon geographies that we support, as well as Shopify, Recharge, a couple of other different systems that will accept order flow from. If you also have a Magento or BigCommerce, we'd love to talk to you. We have some other ways to handle that. Payment gateways, this is where we really feel like we differentiate in the market today, which is we have about 16, I think, different integrations into different payment gateways that we've custom built. into each of these. So we're never guessing about fees. We're never guessing about chargebacks or different things that happen directly at the merchant level. And so that's how we're able to provide really accurate and really granular sets of data for you. And then finally, we've talked about the bank account. So we connect through a service called Plaid or Teller that connects straight to the bank. If that's somehow not supported by either of the services, we also accept CSV or Excel uploads of bank data, so we can also support you there. And so that's how we're pulling in all of this data. We're pulling in raw data through APIs managed by our team. As I mentioned before, for a lot of our customers, we're proposing journal entries for them. So we're trying to automate away a lot of the tedious work that accounting teams are doing to elevate their time and help them do more value-added work rather than generating these journal entries. And so that's a lot of what we've been doing for the last several years. The real focus of the NetSuite integration, though, before we get into the real weeds of NetSuite, is to try to help bridge that gap that we were talking about at the beginning. Is in NetSuite, you sort of have an expectation of cash coming in. You have a bunch of order flow coming in. Those are being created as payments. And then you have this gap of what have you received as payment and when did you receive it and what period is that allocable to. So I just want to use our cash in transit page here as a very summary level version of showing you how we're going to help facilitate this in NetSuite. And then we'll get over to the NetSuite records and talk about it specifically in the software there. So here our cash in transit page is trying to do that exact walk of how much money did you expect to receive from your orders in the period? How much did you receive? And then when did you receive that payment? So if we look here on the left-hand side, this card here is representing all of your order flow that within the period. So very similar to the overview we looked at the top of the hour here, showing you all of the attributes of that income, showing you the refunds that are netting against that to get to a total net order flow for the period. Then we're going to back out any non-cash payments, so gift cards, exchange credits, store credits, things like that, so that we can get down to exactly how much money, cash payment, do I expect to receive for this period? And then we're going to break that out into each of the expected payment gateways. So let's look at Shopify here. So that's talking about Shopify as a payment processor. Some people call that Shop Pay. And so down here at the bottom, this is really creating that walk-through time of expectation versus reality. So this total accounts receivable is built off of the order data, what we see from Shopify as expectation of payment. So for Shopify, we expect $35,500 of payment in this period, or from the orders in this period. Cash received in period, so everything from this point over to the right is actually fed by data from either the payment gateway or the bank, or a combination of the two. And so these are going to be cash payments, so Shopify Shop Pay records that are paying out in the January period itself. So that's an overlap of ordered in January and paid out in January. So you've received almost $31,000 of payments for these orders that were placed in January from Shopify. Cash in transit is a real live look into what's still in transit. So if you log in here and you're looking at last month, on the first business day of the month, you're going to see a balance in there showing you exactly what value of dollars do you expect to still pay out from all of the orders from the month that just completed. We're well past the January month, so we are going to move to this cash received out of period. So cash received out of period is going to help us rebuild what was in transit as of the end of January at any moment in time. So if we click through here, this is actually going to bring you down to some of the raw data that we're going to use for the NetSuite piece here. But what this is every single order, and these are actually payment gateway records connected back to the order. This is hyperlinked back to your Shopify, so you can always check out the details at the raw source level, showing you whether we've reconciled back to the order, reconciled to the payout in the bank, a little identifying information about the orders, and then also giving you a walk through time. So we can see that these were all orders that happened at the end of January. If we were to log into Shopify, they'd say, hey, we paid you out January 31st. But because we have that direct connection to the bank, we can tell you that that actually didn't settle into your bank until February 1st and was a value that was in transit to you as of the end of January. And so these records are really what's going to help us do that order by order reconciliation in NetSuite and help you do the bank rec automatically and really free up a lot of time for your accounting team. Just gonna check in on questions. All right, Jason Thompson is asking me, do our journal entries auto-populate into the respective GL? So right now we don't have any direct connections into the GL for those journal entries right now. That is something that we're doing. We're building out chart of account mapping and doing some connections to some of the larger ones like QBO, Xero, things like that, looking into those connections. But we do have some great templates. All of that's exportable. We have over 200 companies who are using that directly to just map into their GL on their own and import that into their systems themselves. Great. All right, so moving along here on the NetSuite piece, I just want to jump into the GL. So we're going to take that order level detail and we're going to move that into NetSuite. So this is one place where we do have that connection into the respective GL system. We're going to push that into NetSuite. But we're going to push journal entries that help with bank reconciliation, not summary level journal entries, because in our experience, most people on NetSuite are already pushing order flow over there. So in order for us to really automate bank reconciliation for teams, we have to all agree on what happened about an order. And so our first step in our workflow is to move through order by order and make sure that we agree on the details of the order. So this page here is an order by order reconciliation of the order flow that we see from our independent view into all of these sources versus what we see from your NetSuite. And so we'll take this first line as an example. This OMS order ID is just order management system. So that's going to be your Shopify order ID, your Amazon order ID, again, hyperlinked over to your Shopify store to that exact transaction. GL order ID is going to be the same thing in NetSuite. So that's going to take you right over to NetSuite and show you the transaction in NetSuite and have an ability to look at the two side by side and look at any discrepancies, which we'll look at here in a second. The order name, that might be sort of like your visually recognized order identifier, and then whether we've reconciled this order. From there, we're doing a stacked comparison between the two and looking at all of the information about the orders side by side. So Blue Onion, this is directly from the source, and then NetSuite is obviously from NetSuite. And we're going to look at the order dates, the currency, the gross sales, discounts, all of the attributes of the order. Again, all in an effort so that we can make sure that we agree about an order before we get to this automated bank reconciliation in NetSuite. And so on the other side here, we have unreconciled orders. So in our experience, things that really mostly happen here is we've worked with a lot of teams as they've made this transition from QuickBooks or a different bookkeeping app over to NetSuite and doing that fuller ERP implementation. And while we all hope that that goes really, really smoothly, the reality is a lot of times there's some hiccups along the way and things don't work exactly right on day one. And so we've helped a lot of teams identify the pieces of their flow that aren't actually coming into NetSuite the way that they intended, and systematically fix those so that we work down those items to really things that are generally manual intervention problems. So you have somebody going in manually entering a record, doing things like that. Those are things that are going to pop out as not reconciling generally. And so here, this first order, again, same structure as what we were just looking at on the previous page. But what we have here is anywhere where you're seeing highlighted blue is an attribute we've identified a discrepancy. So we know this order is happening on 8.2. Your NetSuite has it on 8.3. Moving down to this next one, this is kind of an attribution of income difference, right? Our sources of data, so Shopify here would say we have a 525 gross order with a discount of 100, but NetSuite has that as a net 425. So an attribution between gross sales and discount issue. Then I'm just going to skip down here to the bottom. These I would say are probably they represent what we more commonly see as issues with some of these integrations. And those are dropped records for a variety of reasons. Some of those might be systematic, like order edits don't make their way over to NetSuite for some reason. Refunds aren't integrated well and aren't getting created systematically in NetSuite. And so this gives you a place to see those records that Blue Onion has on their side. So you can see these are all Blue Onion records. And we can identify a connecting one on the NetSuite side. And so that would mean they're missing, obviously, in NetSuite and need to get booked over there. So really helpful workflow to make sure that you have a complete set of data in NetSuite and are ready to move forward to the reconciliation step here. So I'm just going to jump over to payout reconciliation. So this page here is really the culmination of all 4 sources that we've talked about up to this point. So those sources are your orders from your order management system, your payments from your payment gateways, the bank data, as well as now the GL data, which in this case is NetSuite, right? And so let's just walk through this first example here. We have a bank account. In this case, for the first record is Chase Bank, telling us on 8/1 we received a deposit into our bank for $934.46. From our connection to Afterpay, we're seeing the same thing. They're depositing $934.46, but they give us a little bit more information. They're telling us that there were $51 of transaction fees charged on that payout, and that the gross value of those transactions was actually $985.51 when it was handed off to Afterpay to process. And that's exactly where we see pretty much all of these connectors dropping off at this point, is they can get you your gross order in there, but figuring out the fees and the aggregation of payments is something that is somewhat difficult and pretty manual for a lot of accounting teams right now. So let's just poke into one of these payouts. Here we can see all of the records that we've received from Afterpay connected back to their originating orders. The settle amount for each of these orders totaling to that same $934.46, transaction fees for each order, and then the gross amount that those were when they were coming over to Afterpay. And then now we're also connecting in the exact transaction in NetSuite that represents that order or that payment in NetSuite as well. And so we can bundle that all up together and actually feed over to NetSuite. Hey, here's a deposit into the bank account for the exact transactions, exact amounts, exact fees, that's going to match your exact bank payout on your bank feed. So that kind of gets us over to the NetSuite side. Here's a sandbox NetSuite. So just to really simply define the problem here, we have all of these deposits that are happening into NetSuite from a bank feed or a manual upload. So you can see all of these different payments from the NetSuite side, from the bank feed side, but we're missing the GL transactions. We don't have anything in our GL that actually represents those deposits. On the other side, we might have like a holding account, or we might have those deposits going into undeposited funds and sitting in this status of not paid out. And so that's what we want to solve for people. And so if we go over to our Blue Onion app, we can grab, let's say, these first 2 Afterpay transactions, and we can dump those in, update records, change to GL. So right now, that's going to drop us a saved CSV file. Here in the next couple of months, this is actually going to be an API push directly into NetSuite. And so we'll go and grab this transaction. To the question earlier, this is exactly, this is the place where we do actually push journal entries straight into the GL system. We map this for you. It goes straight to that. So when we onboard our teams, we bring that in, and we have that set up to map to the appropriate locations. So I'm going to go ahead and import that, and we'll go ahead and refresh and pull this in. As anyone that works in NetSuite knows, some of the sandboxes can work a little bit slow, so we'll just let that refresh for a little bit. And I'm going to do refresh, and I'm going to pull in Chase operating and run reconciliation rules and hit OK. And then do another refresh. So what this has done for me now, I can go into Chase operating. So all I did is run reconciliation rules. That's a native function within the matchbank data of NetSuite. And that just has some native rules set up in there. We haven't built any. This is just working off of the ones that are native in there. And we can now see that these 2 journal entries that we've created, and I'm going to open up one of those so that we can see the details of it, have been auto-matched against the bank data that we fed in from the bank feed. On the other side, if we were to go to, in this case, this customer has set up an Afterpay holding account. I'll go back to be matched here. We can see all of these individual cash sales are settling into this holding account. And then we have our journal entry that's sweeping things out one by one. And so let's just look at these ones that were deposited into the holding account 7/29, and then these others that are swept out by our journal entry on 8/2. So you can see those are of the same value. We're doing things in and out. And the really important distinction here is that the balance in these holding accounts is always going to be the value that you have outstanding. So if we kind of flash back to our cash in transit page, right, we're helping you identify exactly what's this cash received out of period or in transit amount at any given moment on any day. But really, obviously, accounting teams care about that end of period, end of month piece. So we have those cash sales settling into the Afterpay holding account at the end of July, and then being swept out when they settle into the bank on 8/2, transaction by transaction. So what's there at the end of July is going to be what is your in-transit balance for Afterpay at the end of the month, and gives you great insight into the money that you're still expecting from each payment gateway on any given day. So let's jump into the journal entry here and actually talk about what we're doing. So what we're doing here is we are, again, transaction by transaction and linked back to its originating transaction here. We're going to credit out of the clearing account or undeposited funds if that's what you use. It's up to you, and we can talk about chart of account mapping here in just a second. And then we're going to back out, or I'm sorry, we're going to either expense or hit an accrual for credit card processing. Again, that's in your control, transaction by transaction, or in an aggregated fashion, whatever you choose. Some people like the full landed cost transaction by transaction over here. And then the final piece is going to be that deposit into the bank. And so what we've experienced with a lot of our customers is they actually have a team of 1, 2, 3, sometimes up to 5 people on their staff that are currently doing this job themselves, either daily, weekly, monthly, to do this reconciliation, to identify the payments that are included, to book these journal entries, and to reconcile the bank. And what we're trying to do is make sure that what you can come into our app and do, select a full month, grab that whole thing, reconcile a day, a week, several months, up to whatever you have the capacity to do in your time, and do that automatically and really relieve a lot of time off of your accounting team. I do want to touch on configuration and chart of account mapping here just really briefly before I finish up and check questions again. So we're allowing people here to map all of their chart of accounts for every single transaction type that we've ever seen possible across our over 300 installs so far on our app, from every single payment gateway. So for Shopify here, we're going to let you tell us, hey, where do your Shopify transactions settle? What bank do those go in? So I'm going to select my Chase account. For expenses, how do you want to map your expenses? Maybe for Shopify, you have a specific other expenses ShopPay account that you want to do that to. This is a live hookup into your chart of accounts, so it's always your exact chart of accounts. There's no manual typing or anything like that. It's just a select. Shopify payout expenses. Let's go ahead and put those in other expenses ShopPay. Those chargebacks, reversals, disputes, dispute fees, things like that that are really troublesome in reconciliation. We're going to give you all of those and let you book those to the account that you want to book those to as well. And then we have other, so obviously other things come along the way that maybe you don't foresee, and we're going to give you a bucket to put things there. Sync accounts, that's going to update our database so that the next time you come over to this field and export a payment, that's going to have those chart of account mappings for you and impact your GL in exactly the way that you want. So that's really what we're accomplishing with our NetSuite integration. I don't know why I couldn't think of the word integration there, but that's what we're accomplishing for a lot of teams now in our NetSuite integration. We've seen significant hours every single month dropped off of their accounting team's workload, and significant increase in the accuracy of their accuracy and confidence that they have in their financial data. And so that's what we're doing. We'd love to meet more of you that are on this call. If you're interested in any of this, love to do a meetup and do a scoping call with any of you to talk through this. So just to kind of like recap, what we're doing on our end is we're building a really accurate and streamlined version of the truth in Blue Onion, from connecting to your order management systems, your payment gateways, and your bank. And then we're also now bringing in your general ledger record of all of those things, making sure that you have accurate and complete records in your NetSuite. And then also automating your bank reconciliation within NetSuite, fitting in that gap between the connector app that's already bringing your data into NetSuite. So we're not trying to replace that for you. We're just trying to automate the work that's still left for humans to do right now, and is a very, very manual process in bank reconciliation of identifying all of the items that are aggregated in a payout, layering in transaction level and payout level fees, and getting you to a point that you have a one-to-one relationship between your GL and bank payouts so that that automatic reconciliation can happen. Just going to check in on questions and chat and make sure we don't have anything else here. Great. Well, I don't see anything else, any questions from anybody here. Really, really appreciate everybody taking the time to spend it with us and see what we've been up to with NetSuite and with automated bank reconciliation. If you have any questions about anything, please feel free to reach out to us at Blue Onion. You can reach out to us at expert@blueonionlabs.com. And we'll have somebody that is ready to speak with you either about a demo, about specific questions, and we love just talking shop about accounting. So if you have just general questions about anything that we did here, would love to hear it. We also have a YouTube channel about other parts of the app. If you're ever interested in hearing more about that, check that out. And we look forward to hearing from you. Thanks, everybody.